What's up, everybody? Welcome back in to the Philly Sports Power Hour. Getting ready for the weekend. And what better way to get ready for the weekend than bringing on my man, the one and only Johnny Marks, joining the Power Hour. What's up, John?
There's not a better way to get ready for the weekend than me. Well, I would argue that, but thank you. Thank you, Bill. What's up?
How you feeling, my brother?
I was just actually sorting laundry. I lost track of time. I knew I was supposed to be on with you about this time, and I was sorting a mountain of laundry. So that's how I'm doing.
Doing the laundry. That's folding the laundry is the chore I think I hate the most. Maybe doing the dishes, but I don't know. Folding the laundry is always a pain in the ass, man.
So I do dishes because my wife does. She will pile the dishes on top of the other dishes in the drying rack, or in the dishwasher. She's completely unorganized. So there'll be dishes scattered all over the place, and you can't fit as many dishes in there. So I take command of that. She doesn't allow me to fold the laundry. I sort it and I put it in the washer and the dryer. Gotcha. But I'm not allowed to fold it.
Gotcha. So now, talking about the dishes, we just got something that's a game changer in our house. The magnet that goes on the front of the dishwasher that says either clean or dirty.
Oh.
So you flip it, but God forbid you forget.
Because you have to remember to flip it. Right.
Yeah, if you forget to flip it, and you're like, wait, these don't look clean. But it can help. It does help. Because you ever open the dishwasher, you're like, I don't remember. Are these clean or are these dirty?
It'll smell like it's been ran, but then you look at the dishes and you're like, I don't think this has been run.
Yeah, so you need the magnet. You need the magnet. So let me ask you, NCAA tournament started yesterday. Are you a March Madness type of guy?
Once the tournament starts, yeah. I probably start paying attention to during the conference tournaments. But man, I haven't watched college basketball regular season in a long time. It doesn't help that the teams around here aren't really good anymore. 2 straight years of Big 5 teams not making the tournament. So really, like, I'm paying attention like everybody else, kind of watching SportsCenter or whatever. But then once it starts, it's like I've been watching all year long, and that's what I was doing yesterday.
Yeah, same. And now we got a little competition going at the Fanatic. You know, I'm down at the Fanatic now.
Right.
And after the first day, your boy's sitting in first place. Now, obviously, things can change, but I'm sitting at the top.
So, did you not have Kentucky? Because I know a lot of people had Kentucky going to the Final Four. They were a sexy pick at the end.
I had them going to the Elite Eight, which hurts. But so my Final Four is still intact, and I picked a couple upsets yesterday that I hit on. Hold on, we're talking about the dishes and the laundry, and my fiance just poked her head in here and gave me a look. So she probably knows, because I'm like, I hate doing the laundry. She's like, yeah, you're damn right you hate it. So anyway, all right, so NCAA tourney. Let's talk real quick, though, about Kentucky, because I don't follow it that much, just like you don't follow it, but I follow it enough to know that Calipari hasn't done anything in the last 5 seasons, and this guy has, a lifetime contract? I just saw he's going to have, if they try to buy him out, he's owed $35 million. What do you think about that whole situation?
Yeah, not bad. I saw that he talked after the game last night, and he right after losing a game like that, he's shell-shocked, and he's talking about, well, like, what do I do going forward? You don't make decisions on what you're going to do as a program right after a game. But some of the things that he said was interesting, which was like, look at the freshmen they have, look at the sophomores they have. They have young teams because they recruit so well. They're getting younger players. But then you look at some of these other teams, in particular last night, they're playing. There's a 24-year-old that was mowing down threes last night. So sometimes you're facing a team, in particular in the tournament, you're facing a veteran team where you have grad students that are there playing 1 year because they want to play a year. You know, the NILs have changed everything so much in college basketball. I was hearing, I heard an interview with Jeff Goodman. Now he's of Stadium, but longtime ESPN college basketball writer. And he was talking about how guys like Tom Izzo of Michigan State didn't want to buy anybody in the NIL, in the NILs, in the transfer portal. And you saw the team that Michigan State had this year. And it's like, if you don't adapt, and this goes for college football as well, and it's probably one of the reasons why Nick Saban wanted to get out.
Yeah,
I saw Saban, and he did an interview with ESPN.com, and he had said that after they had lost in the semifinal, that the kids are just different now. They're asking, oh, how much playing time am I going to get next year? How much money am I going to get? Essentially, all these players are on 1-year contracts. They can transfer anywhere after a year. So if they're on a 1-year contract and they can get paid, now they're out there shopping themselves around. So if they say, hey, if I'm not a starter or you're not guaranteeing me playing time, I'm going to go look elsewhere where I can start and I get paid more money. Changes everything.
Yeah, they got to step in. I'm happy that the NCAA doesn't have the control over these kids like they used to, but they got to do something because it's really like the Wild West now with the NILs and the transfer portal. So they got to do something to fix that, but we'll see. But let's talk some Eagles. Let's talk some Eagles for a second. So you and I haven't had a chance to talk, I don't think, since any of these free agent moves have been made. So what do you think so far at the start of this offseason? Because there's still a long ways to go.
Well, the first wave is it has done nothing but really encourage Eagles fans, because if you're, I would say, an average Eagle fan was extremely disappointed with the way this season ended and probably still had a bad taste in their mouth as we entered free agency. I know that's how I felt. I hate the Eagles, fire Howie Roseman, but I was also like, right? Like, oh man, the defense is old. They need players on defense, and like Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. And then very quickly, Howie Roseman, in the course of a week, took that bad taste out of people's mouths, and now you actually feel encouraged again that this team, maybe they are at the top of the NFC, and I believe they are. And Howie has shown that in a short period of time, he can take an existing roster and he can tweak it and he can add to it easily. And it's what he did. I don't believe Saquon Barkley is necessarily a boom or bust signing. It's a 2-year contract. It could be longer, depending on how he produces. He probably gets a new contract, or they redo the numbers after 2 years. But I think Saquon Barkley is going to be fine. I think he's going to be good. But if nothing else, what Howie Roseman showed was they believe they're a Super Bowl team. The window is wide open. And on offense, adding Saquon Barkley is just to get Jalen Hurts back to the Jalen Hurts we saw in 2022. Because if we don't see Jalen Hurts second half of the season 2022 or Jalen Hurts first half of the season 2023 in some of those games, Eagles aren't going to the Super Bowl. They're not winning the Super Bowl. So they still have a little bit of work to do. I'll be curious to see what they do in the draft. They still need some corner help. But so far, so good. Howie has really, really helped the team. And he still has cap room left. They're still flexible and have extra draft picks. They have that extra second round. So far, so great for Howie and the Eagles.
And I want to talk more about the defense in a second, but you bring up Jalen Hurts and trying to get him back to the 2022 form that he was. I had you on my other show, Legal Hands to the Face show, before last season. And one of the things we talked about, because you had been talking about this on the radio, was that you wanted to see Jalen Hurts run less because you wanted him to stay healthy. So I went and looked at the numbers. And before you joined the show, I was looking at this because there are still people talking about, should Jalen become more of a pocket passer? Should he get back to running? So I want to give you some stats that I just looked up. When Jalen Hurts has more than 14 carries, 14 or more carries, the Eagles are 10-0.
Wow.
When he has more than 10 carries, they're 16-4. He's only had 20 losses in his career. 16 of those 20 losses have come when Jalen gets 10 or less carries. And you look at last season when they had that quote-unquote collapse. 10-1, he's averaging over 10 carries a game. 1-6, he's averaging 6 carries a game. So now that you've kind of seen Jalen running the ball in 2022 and Jalen kind of not running as much in 2023, have you changed your opinion about what you want to see from Jalen Hurts?
No, and I would say the devil's in the details. How many of those carries were tush pushes or short yardage situations or whatever? But to your point, the more he was a part of the offense in the running game, the more success that they had as far as winning games. I'll say this, that what you saw the second half of the season last year with them saying, hey, we're going to blitz Jalen Hurts, and he's going to struggle with it, that's not going to stop. It's only going to get even more intense. Now, the Eagles need to adjust to that. And last year, Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni on the fly during the season had no adjustment to it.
Yeah.
But the lack of development in the pocket from Jalen Hurts, I don't need Jalen Hurts to be a pocket passer. He's not Eli Manning. I don't need him to be a stick figure and stand in the pocket. That's not what I'm asking to do. But he does need to be more comfortable in the pocket. And the thing that really impressed me in 2022 was how he had a knack of maneuvering around in the pocket, having a good feel for where the pass rush was, and really confidently delivering the ball Last year, there was no confidence at all. So I guess to your point, Bill, we need to see a confident Jalen Hurts out there. Now, was that because he was injured and he couldn't run? He just didn't have confidence throwing the ball. And I think that was pretty clear when you watched him the second half of last season. So if you want to run him more and you want to make that a part of the offense, that's fine. He's also got to be able to stay healthy.
Yeah.
So he didn't miss games last year because of this knee injury, but everybody agrees that it affected him at least to some extent. So even if you don't miss games, it can still affect your play if you're running. And I think Jalen, and this is also the big thing, I think Jalen wants to run the ball less, because when you look at a quarterback and the progression of a quarterback, normally at each year that you get away from coming into the league, you develop more as a passer and you need to rely on the run less. So I'll be curious to see what they do this year.
And we saw that with Donovan. When Donovan came into the league, he was running the ball a lot more, and then he started to slowly develop into more of this pocket passer who could run. And you see that with Mahomes, too. I mean, Mahomes is so damn good, but not because he has designed runs, but because he can make plays with his legs when things break down. But I'm just hoping Kellen Moore doesn't come in here and try to get Jalen to stop running the football, because I do think they have a lot of success. And you mentioned the tush push. Well, it doesn't look like the tush push is getting banned, which is a good thing, but there's no Jason Kelce now at center to do it. How much do you think the tush push is affected without Kelce?
Well, we're going to find out, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, Kelce talked about how he would scream for his life during those tush pushes because of the toll that it took on him.
Yeah,
I think it's a legitimate question. I think that the Eagles are going to be fine with Cam Jurgens coming over and replacing Kelce. Kelce, he was still very good last year, but he also wasn't maybe the same player that we had seen in recent years. So I think they're ultimately going to be fine. But as far as the tush push, we really don't know. Now, Kelce also was undersized for a center, so it's not like that he was this big fat center that you could rely on. And Jurgens is 50 pounds lighter. But I mean, I'll be curious to see, because Kellen Moore likes to run the ball. He likes to throw the ball to the backs. I think maybe that also played into it, that they got Saquon Barkley. Kellen Moore might have said, "Hey, I really like him." But here's another reason why I think they signed Saquon Barkley. It gives the fan base some sizzle, right? Yeah. It's a sizzle signing to where the Eagles are going out of character and getting a running back and spending money. I was surprised that they spent top of the market money on Saquon. Howie's notorious for waiting it out a little bit, knowing that the player wants to come here and saying like, all right, your market really didn't develop, so here, we'll give you 2 years and $20 million. That didn't happen with Saquon Barkley. They went out, they made sure they got Saquon Barkley. And I think that was important to the Eagles because of how last season ended. And they wanted to get that bad taste out of fans' mouths, and Saquon's going to help do that, at least before the season starts.
And it worked, man. I mean, you do this. You do a show every day now on your channel. I'm doing this show. I'm doing the weekends on The Fanatic. And it went from fans being over-the-top negative about the way the season ended. As soon as they made the move for Barkley, everything turned positive. I shouldn't say everything. There's still fans who are not happy, but everything turned positive. They're doing Eagles chants at the Flyers game. You could just see it. People are wearing their Eagles gear again. So it worked in getting that bad taste out of everybody's mouth, and now everybody's excited. But I think something that could maybe bring that bad taste back is going to be depending on what happens with Hassan Reddick. And I know you were on Birds 365 earlier this week, and I agreed 100% with what you said about if this is truly a Super Bowl year, if you're trying to win a Super Bowl, well, why are you going to get rid of arguably your best defensive player? What do you think happens with the Reddick situation?
I think he's gone, and the fact that they moved that roster bonus back to April 1st, they're trying to look for a trade. If they want to trade him, fine. All right, then you can trade him. Don't give me a 4th-round draft pick for him. You're only getting him. Here's the problem with his value, and I'm sure you've talked about this, Bill, is that he has 1 year left on his contract, and he wants to be paid not like Myles Garrett, but close. He wants $25 million a year. He wants $75, $100 million guaranteed. The top of the line edge rushers, that's what they get. Hassan Reddick's not going to get that. Teams don't want to give Hassan Reddick that money and trade for him and give up a high draft pick. So you have teams that are saying, "Hey, we'll talk to you in free agency, but we're not trading a 2nd-round draft pick and giving you a new contract on top of that. We'll wait. If you want 25 a year, we'll wait, and we won't give you anything."
look at Brian Burns. The Giants only gave up what, a second and a fifth?
Second and a fifth, and they gave him $150.
And that's why they only gave up a second and a fifth, because they knew they had to give him big money. So, and Reddick's older, and I agree with you. If Reddick wants the big money deal that we all think he does, no team. I said I think best case scenario they're getting a third and a fifth for Reddick, and I think that's best
case scenario. I agree. Yeah, the market hasn't developed. Just doing some reading and talking to some people that I know that work in some of the markets where he's rumored to go. Like, there's just not a big appetite. The market hadn't developed for him. So I'm sure a team would love to say, hey, yeah, we'll trade a 4th-round draft pick for Hassan Reddick, and we'll take on your existing contract. But unless he agrees, or like he says, okay, I'll come on that existing contract, and then we'll talk about a new contract going forward, teams aren't interested in doing that. So if I'm the Eagles, and football is a business, and teams go through this every year with players, right? Coaches are used to it. GMs are used to it. Players are used to it. I say, hey, Hassan, listen, I understand that you want a new contract. You're going into the final year of your contract. I understand the financials of football. We'll give you a sweetener. Let's give you some playing time incentives. Let's give you double-digit sack incentives. Let's say here's $1 million if you get 10 sacks, right? And sure, I'll spend Jeffrey Lurie's money. They did it with Chris Jones. It got him in the camp. They did it with Saquon. And they promised not to, they gave him incentives so he would sign. The best place for Hassan Reddick to be, if there's not a team willing to give him a new contract, is here. And if he wants to be mad because the Eagles aren't giving him a new contract and he'll go play on his existing contract somewhere else, I just think that's bad. He is their best defensive player, and now this is on the Eagles. The Eagles can't just trade him to trade him. Sorry, Hassan, if you're upset that you didn't get a new contract. He's their best defensive player by far. And if this is a team that you're this is a team you believe is going to the Super Bowl, and the Eagles are being constructed like this is the Super Bowl team, then Hassan Reddick can't not be on this team for a 4th-round draft pick. Sorry.
So do you think there's any possibility he's back?
Sure. Yeah, it's a matter of what's available out there. If teams aren't interested in trading, if teams aren't interested in giving him a new contract, he's going to have to make a decision. Now, is he already at a point of no return where he says, no, I'm leaving. You're not giving me a new contract. I want to be traded. Look how mad Saquon Barkley was at the Giants. But part of the reason why I think he came to the Eagles, it's a vindictive move. He wants to shove it up the Giants' nose because they didn't pay him. And what better place to go than Philly? I don't know if Hassan's there, but if all else is equal, he should want to stay here. Look at the success he's had since he's been here. It's a high-profile team. So you stay on a good team. You stay on a team that's going to be in a lot of national TV games. You get your sacks. You go out in free agency last year, and you make your money.
And he's from here, grew up in Camden, went to Haddon Heights High School and all that. Yeah, and you mentioned the Barkley situation. That's why I'm not understanding fans, former players, Tiki Barber being one of them, who are hating on Saquon. What else did you want this guy to do? So he comes in, you draft him, he plays on his 4-year rookie deal. You exercise his 5th-year option, so he still doesn't get the big money. Then he wants a big deal. You still don't give it to him. You franchise tag him. Like, what did you want him to do? He gave you 6 years of his career, was a good soldier, played, never got the big money deal he wanted, and now you're mad that he went out and got paid? I just don't understand what else they wanted from that guy.
Yeah, I think it's the Eagles is what a lot of it is. Division rival. Because the talk was the Cowboys, Eagles, and it does feel like that he couldn't wait to go to the Eagles because the Giants weren't re-signing him. Well, guess what? Re-sign him.
And his daughter, man, is just killing the Giants right now.
I'll tell you what, the content the Eagles put out about the first 24 hours with Saquon was genius. It was great. It was great content to do that. Whoever's idea that was, it was a really good idea. But, I think that signing him for the Eagles makes a lot of sense. Jacksonville gave Gabe Davis similar money. Gabe freaking Davis. Who's going to have more of an impact on their team? Saquon Barkley or Gabe Davis? And from the Giants' standpoint, I wouldn't have resigned him either. Giants aren't ready to win right now.
Darnell Mooney got 3 years, $39 million.
Right.
You're right. It's because he's a running back that we have the issues, but you look at what these other guys are getting, and I'd rather pay Saquon.
Mooney or Saquon, who's going to have more impact on the Eagles? Go out and sign another wide receiver or Saquon Barkley. It's a need. So to me, it makes a lot of sense. And also from the Giants' perspective, he underperformed being the high draft pick that he was. He spent a lot of time injured. He also didn't have a very good team around him. He had Daniel Jones and he had a bad offensive line. So I think it makes sense for Saquon to leave. He wants to be paid. The Giants wouldn't pay him. And if I was the Giants, I wouldn't have paid him this year either. I would have let him walk. It burns because it was the Eagles. So I think that's from the Giants fans' perspective.
Yeah, and I am looking for, you talk about no players around him. Barkley had only played with a 1,000-yard receiver once his entire career. It was his rookie season when they had Odell and Eli Manning. And that year, what's Barkley do? He has over 2,000 yards from scrimmage.
Yeah.
After that season, he's never played with a receiver that's had more than 750 yards. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. All right, let's do a little Phillies talk because we got opening day coming up on Thursday next week. Let me ask you, you think they can win the NL East?
No. 88 wins.
No.
Second or third wild card. No, they're not. I mean, they showed in the past it doesn't matter, but they're not during a regular season. I don't think it's a roster that can win 95, 100 games. The Braves have that roster. And the Braves also getting Chris Sale in the offseason. That may not end up working out, or it may end up working out to where that wins them a World Series, right? I mean, they have a great young core. They have a ton of talent. They have great starting pitching. And they added Chris Sale. And honestly, I wish the Phillies would have considered adding Chris Sale because I think they're a starting pitcher short.
Yeah, and hold on, John. I don't know what's going on in the chat the last couple of days, but they've been visceral with each other. What's going on? Yeah, everybody's fighting in my chat over the last couple of days. So come on. Clean it up. Clean it up, Flexen. Yeah, they're all attacking each other the last couple of days. I don't know what's going on in the chat. But anyway, so let me give you an argument as to why maybe they could win the NL East. You look at their start over the last 2 seasons, and it's been terrible. So you look at last year, they started 25-30, and then they played over 600 baseball the rest of the way out. If they do that, that's 98 wins. If they play 600 baseball the entire year, they get rid of that terrible start, 98 wins. You think 98 wins could do it? I mean, the Braves had 104 last year, but a lot of that was because they also played the Phillies a lot.
Right.
So
yeah.
Could 98 wins win the NL East?
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's the caveat to this whole conversation is if you come out hot, let's say, I don't know, the first 20 games, you're 14-6, 15-5, and then you're front running. Yeah, absolutely. This is still a good team. This is still a very good team. If their starting pitching stays healthy, Zach Wheeler is, I mean, man, you talk about a free agent signing from Matt Klentek, honestly. But
yeah, he didn't do much, but that was a good one.
Man, and you look at it, it's one of the best free agent signings in Philly's history, what he was able to do. So avoiding injury and things like that with Wheeler, because he's been healthy when he's been here, knock on wood. Aaron Nola, I think they're a starting pitcher short. But, like, hey, listen, you never know. Taijuan Walker's also having another slow start to the spring. I don't know if he's going to be ready to start the season. That was a terrible signing, bringing him in here last offseason. So, yeah, they start healthy. Aaron Nola gets on a roll. I'll still say it again. This offense they need to be cooking because they have good starting pitching. They have one of the best, deepest 5 rotations that they have. But this offense needs to be the offense that we saw at times last year.
So with that being said, that the offense needs to get cooking, what do you think about Johan Rojas being in your starting lineup?
I mean, it was probably his job to win. And it feels like right now it's going to be more of a platoon situation than anything. We were talking about with the Eagles, the adjustments that were made in the league towards Jalen Hurts and really towards the Eagles offense. Like, hey, let's blitz them and let them make an adjustment. And the Eagles didn't make an adjustment. You see it all the time in sports. And it was magnified in the postseason last year with Johan Rojas. And they're saying, let's see how you get him out. And he was a non-factor at the plate. Regular season's a little bit different, but they're going to use that same strategy whenever he's coming up to the plate because he was flailing at everything that was outside of the strike zone. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see some Whit Merrifield in left field and Brandon Marsh back in center field. I like platoons. I like when you don't necessarily have the same 3 guys out there. So Schwarber may get a start occasionally in left field, but you'll use Marsh, you'll use Whit Merrifield. And guess what? If Rojas is up there and he's hitting, then you don't need to worry about it because you can put him out there every day. But I do think that they have some backup plans to not play him every day. So I think he's like a part-time starter, depending on how he plays.
Yeah, I know there's some people saying, hey, start him out in AAA. I don't want to see them do that. I'd like them to be on this roster, but we'll find out. Hey, I mean, people make the argument he's so good in center field
Yeah.
that it doesn't matter what he does at the plate. And I'm starting to agree with that only because you look around that lineup. If they're losing games and it comes down to Johan Rojas's bat,
Yeah, you got a problem.
well, yeah. I mean, that means that Harper
it's not him,
and Turner and Schwarber and all these other guys that you're paying these big money to aren't producing. So I'm okay with it. All right,
No, and I agree with you with Rojas in center field. There's no reason why he can't bat ninth with the elite defense that he has. And I know they're talking about bunting and getting on base and bunting and everything else. He's still a developing player. It was not believed he was going to be in the majors and starting in the playoffs last year. He's not that long ago. He was single A and double A player.
Yeah.
So you can still, he's not under a lot of pressure to hit ninth. So I would keep him in the majors. And if he's really, really bad and he's proven that he can't hit major league pitching, you can always send him down. But I love the defense. I love the speed. The Phillies were a better team last year when he was in the lineup. So I'm giving him another shot once the season starts this year.
Yeah, so we're agreeing on that. I'll try to get some 4 for 4 in. We did some Eagles. We did some Phillies. Let's talk about the Sixers real quick. Joel Embiid has been back on the court, according to Nick Nurse. 1, do you think he's coming back? And 2, if he does come back, what do you think this team can do in the playoffs?
Yeah, he'll be back. This isn't a surprise at all. Embiid has shown in the past that he will come back when he's injured. The problem is, what does he look like when he comes back? Big 7'2", 300 some odd pound guys, they can come back, but he plays 20, 25 minutes a night. He gets gassed at the end. So he'll get in. I don't know how many games he's going to get before the playoffs start. The problem is, if they're a play-in team, you got less than a month. You got like 3 weeks until the play-in games start. I think the playoffs would start on April 20th if they're not a play-in team. So being at least the 6th seed is probably a pretty big deal. But I don't see this team doing anything other than they've done in previous years. This team's not good enough. Maxi's kind of been inconsistent without Embiid. I still love Maxi, but he's been inconsistent. He's not carrying him every night.
You don't have faith in Tobias?
No. Tobias is what he is. And then, I like some of the additions. Buddy Hield's fine as a 3-point shooter. And, they're losing the second round team right now, to me. That nothing's changed. Embiid, he's a great player. He's a great regular season player. Something kind of goes haywire in his head in the playoffs. So I don't see any reason to believe this team's anything but a second round exit team. And you know what? Maybe because of a matchup this year, they get lucky. I would love to see an Eastern Conference final from this team. I just don't think they're talented enough. There's no way they're beating Boston. They're not beating the Bucks. And I mean, you look at some of the other teams, Indiana, Cleveland, all these teams are pretty good this year too. Yeah. So I don't see any difference with the Sixers.
Yeah, the only hope that I'm holding on to is, look, if Embiid does come back and he could be some semblance of what he was before he got hurt, we've never seen him play with Buddy Hield and Kyle Lowry and even really Kelly Oubre, because he had that whole where he got hit by a bike thing that happened.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So is there a possibility this team can gel quickly? I know it's a big if, but that's all I'm holding on to. Run out of time, so let's make sure we get that 4 for 4 in real quick. Couturier benched the last 2 games by John Tortorella.
How about that?
What do you think about that?
I was just actually on my YouTube show at night. Delco Steve, my producer and co-host, was filling me in that Tortorella obviously not a big fan. Man, I don't know what to say. I wonder if the organization and Tortorella are on the same page with all of this, because in modern day sports 2024, if the coach and the front office isn't on the same page, then it's over. Yeah. Right? Like you need to be on the same page with the organization. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a Tortorella thing where he just doesn't like them or he's at odds with the organization. I don't know.
I've been saying on the show, this is what you get with Tortorella, right? I mean, this is how he is. Correct. But at the same time, you could have done this differently to not embarrass your captain. And it's not as if Couturier doesn't give it his all. Like, if he's just not playing up to the ability you want him to play, you could have figured out another way to sit him down without embarrassing him. It's not like the guy is out there, going through the motions or not practicing hard. So that's what I didn't like about it, but we will see. What do you got planned this weekend, my brother? Anything good?
What do I have planned this weekend?
More laundry?
Easter egg hunt tomorrow night.
Oh, nice.
A 2-year-old's birthday before that. So that's about it, man. Watching. Yeah. I'm headed up to Parks Casino in a little bit. I'm going to watch some of the games up there. Check out check out their sports book up there. So I'm going to head up to there for a couple hours. Should be fun.
Awesome, my man. Well, it's always a pleasure when we get to hear from Johnny Marks again. Hopefully we'll be hearing from you a lot more in the future. I know maybe you got some things in the works, so keep us updated. Keep us updated, my man.
We'll do that. Thanks, Bill.
All right, have a good weekend, brother. Johnny Marks joining the show. Always fun to be able to talk to John. I know a lot of people miss hearing him every day on the radio. I do. So good to see him. But a little today in sports history, the way we end every Philly Sports Power Hour. March 22nd, 1989. NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle announced that he would be retired.